What's up, wrestling fans? It is time for another edition of The Voice of Wrestling right here on voiceofwrestling.net. I'm, of course, your host alongside Nick Paglino, and man, we've got a huge show. I'm excited about tonight's show. Probably more excited than I've been in a long time to do The Voice of Wrestling and, of course, watch Raw tonight. I know, Nick, you're probably excited as well. Primarily, we've got the 25th anniversary of Monday Night Raw tonight, Nick, and I know it's going to be awesome. I know a lot of people are excited about it, and of course, we're going to talk about it as well. But first and foremost, Nick, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm great. You know, this is shaping up to be, I think, what will be a much bigger show than anyone could have anticipated tonight.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit later on about the show. I mean, we're not going to spend much time on this opening story, but I do have kind of a plea to the WWE about tonight's show, and I want to get that out there. However, before I do that, though, I really want to talk to everybody about something real quick that I think is absolutely awesome. If you go to our Voice of Wrestling Facebook page, which is at VOW Live, so facebook.com/VOW Live, and I'm going to take you there myself and actually show you something that I think is going to really be something you'll find interesting as well. But basically, on the Voice of Wrestling Facebook page, again, facebook.com/VOW Live, if you go there, all you have to do is the send message button. I'm going to test it out for you and show you kind of how to do this. It's a really cool feature that we've been using to promote our show and promote our page and to do some really cool stuff. In fact, I'm going to just show you this real quick. If you go up here, I have to press this, but you just go press send message, get started, and here's what's going to end up happening. A awesome little robot will pop up. Hi, Christopher. Thanks for contacting the Voice of Wrestling. My name is Rybot, a sophisticated virtual wrestling fan that works for VOW. Before we get started with why you're here, I have one question for you. Are you following VOW on Facebook? Of course, I'll say yes, I'm following us. And then what's awesome about it is it'll immediately start bringing up, Rybot that is, will bring up some options for you. You can check out the latest wrestling news as well. We might put ProWrestling.com up there since they're our official partner, news partner, but we do have some news on VOW as well, so you can check that out. But check out the latest wrestling news. You can test your wrestling trivia. He'll give you a trivia contest, and you can actually make your Rumble predictions as it stands right now. So if you click on Rumble predictions, what I'm going to do real quick, it'll bring up the very first one after you say, yes, I'm ready to go. It's really awesome. I want you guys to go check this out. Go do this immediately if you haven't done it already. In fact, I know a lot of people that are tuning in tonight have probably already done this. So I'll just show you a couple of matches here. Get started. It'll immediately, Rybot will start telling you for the Cruiserweight Championship, it's Enzo Amore versus Cedric Alexander, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Wow.
I'm going to guess Rybot is asleep at the wheel here, hasn't been reading ProWrestling.com. I'm going to go with Cedric Alexander there, and then, of course, you can go through and make your other picks all the way down to the Royal Rumble and everything. So the Usos retain Benjamin and Gable. Every match is on here that we know about. Go check it out, Voice of Wrestling on Facebook, and of course subscribe to us if you're not a fan of our page. But thanks to everybody that's already been talking and interacting with Rybot, and go check it out again on the Facebook page of Voice of Wrestling. Nick, speaking of Enzo Amore, we had the huge breaking news right before we came on the air. Actually, just a few hours ago, it broke. And Nick, I'm curious to what you think. I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts on this, but first, okay, let's do what we know. I mean, we know breaking news: Enzo Amore being suspended while he's under investigation by police for allegedly raping a woman out of Phoenix last October. And while we wait for more details to come out and everything, Nick, I guess tell us what we do know currently about the situation.
Well, I mean, that's sort
pretty
of
much it.
All we know, which is, that as far as his status is concerned, he's been suspended indefinitely. It's a very similar situation to Rich Swann, which is that, although I think in the case of Rich Swann, there was an actual, arrest was made.
Right, right.
There were actual charges. That has yet to happen in this situation. We have allegations. But WWE does have a zero tolerance policy. So it is the policy that, regardless of any police involvement at the point, the first step is to suspend the person in question. And so this is the statement that came from WWE. Quote, WWE has zero tolerance for matters involving sexual harassment or sexual assault. Until this matter is resolved, Enzo Amore has been suspended. So that would be the step one in any situation. And so Enzo is no different than Rich Swann in that situation. But a police report is apparently going to be filed in this case.
Right.
And then whatever happens from there, that will then determine his actual future. But as of right now, he remains suspended. And that really, honestly, is all we know concretely, aside from what was said by the accuser. You can check more of that out on ProWrestling.com. We have, what the accusations are. But other than that, we really don't know anything else right now.
Nick, I'm curious to what you think about this, because I have mixed feelings, but I understand that WWE has a policy. I get it.
Right.
But in today's age, with the Me Too movement, everything that's being brought to light about sexual assault and the way that women are treated in the workplace, all of that, equal opportunity, equal rights, I'm on board with every single thing about that. I 100% am. That being said, I find it troubling that someone, and I'm not saying this woman is a liar. I have no idea. There's not enough details. But at this point, what it looks like is she went on and tweeted something. Now, it seems like the dates kind of check out. I have no doubt in my mind at this point, just given that fact, that maybe they were in a hotel room. But, she admits to the possibility of some sort of sexual encounter that she would have agreed to potentially, and now she's basically saying that she was forced upon, and it's a different situation. I'm not saying that she's wrong, and if it turns out that she's right, and there's proof and evidence to support that, Enzo Amore will be fired. Could obviously jail time, potentially, whatever the case may be, and he deserves everything that he has coming to him, and then some. But as of now, his career is in jeopardy already. I mean, he's already being suspended, Nick, and I'm not even sure if at this point, with everything going on, depending on how much traction this gets, how much buzz this gets, how much publicity and attention this gets, I don't know that proof is even going to be required, Nick, for WWE to make a pretty bold move and let him go at some point once the smoke is settled just a little bit, or even sooner. I mean, this is a pretty big deal.
It is, but I don't necessarily think that's true. I mean, I think that if an investigation, a thorough police investigation takes place, this could take a while. I don't see Enzo Amore returning to WWE TV next week. I mean, there is going to be a full investigation.
Is this suspension without pay, Nick? I mean, or does he get paid?
I really don't know. I don't know about that. I would have to imagine it's with pay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just allege something. I mean, that is the issue. I mean, in the climate that we're in right now, you're talking about the things that you brought up before, what's going on in Hollywood and the allegations that are taking place. There is a certain element of trial by media here, which is, once an allegation comes out, that could condemn someone. I mean, if you look at the case of Aziz Ansari, the comedian, a lot of people are siding with him in this situation. So just that immediate allegation is not necessarily a condemnation or requiring of termination of your job. And I certainly don't think that's going to happen in this case. If the police come back and say that they did a full investigation and they're not pressing any charges, and they haven't found anything, any actual proof to move forward, I don't think WWE will have any problem bringing him back. I think that's the same situation they're in with Rich Swann right now. So I don't think that this
But
is
you did notice,
a
I mean,
death
you
sentence
mentioned
for
the
him
difference
right now.
between those two situations, though. One has an actual arrest made. There's a formal charges brought. This is a girl going on Twitter. I mean, to me, that is it's a little different situation even between the two. And look, I'm an Enzo fan. I like his character. I know a lot of people mixed reaction. The stuff that you hear about him behind the scenes, I don't know all of the details about that. I do personally believe, though, that Enzo's a good character. I think he's got a lot of things going for him as far as the pro wrestling business. He's just a natural on the mic. He's got a lot of good things. I like what he's doing with the Cruiserweight division. That being said, again, if this is all factual, if this comes out and he did do this, then by all means, he doesn't deserve a job. He needs to get fired. He needs to be punished according to the law.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
But but again, because of the fact this is going to drag out, Nick, I mean, I guess maybe livelihood. This is somebody's life and reputation and career on the line. I just feel like there's got to be some line drawn when it comes to a corporation, whether it's public or not, their reaction to a tweet. I mean, it's virtually a tweet unless there's something that I'm missing, you know?
Yeah, no, and listen, you know, she posted, yeah, there was a tweet. I do think she's also posted a video.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, you know,
we'll have to look into that.
Here,
yeah.
we're learning all of this just sort of as we're going. I mean, of course, the story just
broke. Yeah, earlier. Yeah, I mean,
ago.
Yeah. Let's keep up with that because if there's a video and there's more information about it that gives WWE a reason to think that there's a little bit more with this.
F4WOnline.com is reporting that the woman filed a report with the Phoenix Police Department.
Okay,
and
so
the
there's
case
a report,
is
right?
under investigation.
So there's an active investigation.
There is an active investigation going on, and I think that is part of WWE's policy, which is that if there is an active investigation going on for something, they're suspended. You know what I mean? And I would agree with that. You know, can't. You know, it's and I understand the difficulty. You know, but I think in this climate right now, like you were saying, in this current climate, it's bad PR if an accusation comes out that is this detailed,
right,
and this horrible in this case. You know, this wasn't a situation where Enzo was walked by and had his arm around a WWE star inappropriately. You know, this is actual rape allegations here.
Sure.
The appropriate PR response is to remove him from your product, because the worst thing that could happen is that he gets arrested. Right. And you've still been featuring. The day he's on television.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, he appears on television, and that night, authorities arrest him for rape.
Yeah.
You know, that looks terrible.
Sure, of course. Right.
So like you said, if it's a situation where he's removed from television, he's still being paid. It's suspension with pay while the investigation is going on. If his name is cleared, if no charges end up being filed, he's returned to television, then I would say the situation is absolutely handled.
Well, and I get it's a slippery slope this day and age. You've got to, I mean, the way you react is imperative to how people are going to treat your company.
I agree with the way WWE handles these situations.
Yeah.
I think taking the person away from television, sort of taking them away from the spotlight until the matter is resolved, I think that's the best way to handle it.
We'll follow this as we go. A huge blow to the Cruiserweight division. They've put a lot of stock into Enzo Amore, obviously, and we'll have to find out tonight on Raw what they decide to do with that. But speaking of, I know a lot of people are we're 6 days away from the Royal Rumble on Sunday. Tonight is a huge show, and of course, everybody is that their attention is on tonight, the 25th anniversary of WWE's Monday Night Raw, and I'm ecstatic, man. This is the first time, Nick, in a long time that I've been this excited about a Monday Night Raw. I mean, it's absolutely the case. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I guess, Nick, as we kind of start the top, well, first and foremost, let me say the the laundry list of names, Nick, that are scheduled to be on tonight's show is long and getting longer. Everybody and their mother's supposed to be there. Eric Bischoff, the New Age Outlaws, obviously Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. I think Jericho, Nick, is that right?
Yeah, Jericho's been
Jericho. A lot of names. I mean, tell me some others that I might have missed. I know Tori Wilson, Terry Runnels, Ron
the
Simmons.
Dudley Boys,
Yeah.
the Undertaker, Shawn
Undertaker,
Michaels.
right.
And certain names like Bret Hart, he couldn't make it.
Yeah, Kevin Nash couldn't make it. Yeah,
Kevin Nash couldn't make it because he just had
but he was
surgery.
supposed to be
Bret
there.
Hart is actually consulting a doctor regarding surgery, so he couldn't make it. Mick Foley actually had a really great reason. He is out of town with his family, but he also made a really great point. And this is obviously something you could discuss. I think maybe as it pertains to the WWE Mixed Match Challenge too, but Mick Foley was just fired recently from WWE TV by Stephanie McMahon, and he did an interview recently where he said, "I'm still trying to sell that angle. It doesn't make any sense for me to return to a show, 7-8 months later that I was just fired from."
Sure.
Right. He said this needs to get sold for at least another maybe a full year, so that it can really sell that angle of he's been fired before he comes back. And I thought it was really cool of him to sort of, sacrifice what would be a really big special night for him to sell that angle. But I think also at the same time, he is on vacation with his family. So it's kind of
somebody listening, by the way, on YouTube real quick, Nick, asking Saki, the sock puppet, wants to know,
yes,
speaking of Enzo, what does it mean for the Cruiserweight Championship? Will it be vacated since, of course, Enzo's suspended? What do you think?
That is a very good I would suggest probably yes. Again, with something
Clearly.
this serious. I mean, look at Rich Swann.
Right.
There's been no closure to that situation.
Yeah, right.
That happened a couple of months ago.
Well, and that's a lot easier to sweep under the rug, kind of, as far as programming goes, than your champion being involved. So
I would say without a doubt, that will be. They may not do it tonight.
They'll announce what it's going to be. Yeah.
Within the week, once they learn a little bit more about the situation, what's going on with Enzo.
Right.
I'm sure within the week, by Raw next week, maybe, because they've got time. Remember that, I believe Enzo was set to defend the title at the Royal Rumble. Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Against Cedric.
So they're going to have to figure
They've got to do something. Right. They'll announce what it's going to be. Right.
They'll go ahead and announce what it's going to be, but absolutely. I mean, he'll have to vacate the title. There's no way this situation's getting wrapped up by Royal Rumble.
Look, I'm absolutely looking forward to tonight. I think it's going to be a great show. My one plea, Nick, and I want to kind of get into this a little bit, and of course, guys, voiceofwrestling.net/live. If you want to join our chat room, I'm in there. Some of our regulars are obviously in there as well. But at the end of the day, really looking, shout out to Y2 Jazz and those that are in there as well. And, of course, our great webmaster of Voice of Wrestling is in there. Will, he's in the chat room. So go to voiceofwrestling.net/live. You can also chat on YouTube. I'm following that as well. You're welcome, Saki, the sock puppet, for saying your name. Here's my plea, though, Nick, to the WWE and everything. It is going to be easy with the laundry list of names on tonight's program for the regulars, the guys that are there still carrying your show week in and week out, that have Royal Rumble coming up next week, obviously, that are still trying to make a name for their business, that are trying to carry all the energy and everything that's going on, that are still trying to build their names and carry your brand. It's going to be very easy for them to be overshadowed with everything, with all the hoopla and all the cameos and everything that's going on. And in years past, on big shows like these, reunion shows, whatever the case may be, I find it that WWE often does this, Nick, where they do overshadow them, or they at the expense of some of their own great talent they're trying to build, they kind of let these guys get buried just for the sake of putting over these legends that are coming back that can barely move in the ring in a lot of cases and everything like that. And I hope that doesn't happen tonight. I know that there's going to be a lot of laughs. I know there's going to be a Stone Cold Stunner most likely. There's going to be a super kick. There's going to be some things that we're all going to pop for. And there are guys on your roster that are just, they're your guy. They're your go-to guys to go out there, whether it's your Heath Slaters or whoever the case may be, to allow your legends to have some fun and get over. But I don't want it to come at the expense of some of the guys that you don't need it to happen to. I'm trying to think of maybe Elias, for example.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, he's a good example.
I was going to go big. I was going to say something like a Roman Reigns. The last thing you want is Stone Cold Steve Austin stunning Roman Reigns.
And that, I mean, I don't see that happening, but yeah.
But you're exactly right. A guy like an Elias, a Finn Balor.
A Miz, a Finn Balor, right.
Somebody who's really trying to break into that next level. You really don't want him at the butt end of the joke.
Now, look, you're going to have you know for a fact Elias is going to be in the ring with his guitar, and some legends are going to probably cut him off, and you're going to have some fun, and he'll get the. I just look. Some people don't agree with this. I mean, a lot of people do not agree with the assessment that someone like Elias is going to be hurt by whatever might happen to him in the ring tonight, at the hands of some legend. And if it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, that might be a little different situation. If it's the Honky Tonk Man, that does nothing but hurt him. If you want to give him time in the ring with Steve Austin or someone like that, and he gets a stunner, he would love nothing more than that. It doesn't help him necessarily in his career, but it does give him some face time, some stage time with a huge name that people are going to be watching. It puts his name in people's mouths. That's okay. Honky Tonk Man doesn't really do that for you. As an example, I think there are certain people that you can get away with that with. They're easy to kind of shrug off in those settings. Otherwise, just try not to allow. And again, the other part is I just don't want a lot of legends interacting too much with the guys, your key players of today. Interact in some ways, that's great. But don't forget to progress the storylines that you have heading into next week and the ones that you've invested in and that we as fans have invested in all this time. I mean, it's very easy for that to happen. I hope that it's not too cheesy tonight. I hope there's some really good stuff as well, just entertaining, fun things, but also stuff that's compelling, that's really going to help next Monday, because people are going to be tuning in tonight more so than they have in many, many months, even years to some degree. Ratings haven't been good as far as just live television for a while now. You're getting a boost tonight with everything that's going on. Make a statement. Make people stick around for next week. Let's have some cliffhangers. Let's obviously the Rumble. You've got so much going for tonight's show. We know it'll be fun. We know it'll be funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming right. I mean, it is also a week before the Rumble.
Yeah, make it effective, though. That's my only plea. Right. Make it effective. And Andy Loudner, hi, in the chat room as well. So I think that's my biggest thing, man. I'm just nervous. I know it's going to be a good show, but I'm nervous about again, just how the stuff will progress. I mean, what's going to happen with just your regular talents that will be here tomorrow, that are not just here tonight just to come and celebrate Raw 25. But other than that, Nick, I mean, what are some predictions here for tonight's show? What are you wanting to see, and what's the place that you kind of see? What role do you see for some of these guys that we know are already confirmed for tonight's show? Like, again, an Eric Bischoff, for example, just really surprises me a little bit, and I'm kind of curious to what you think. I mean, where does Eric Bischoff have a place right here besides just a quick cameo? I mean, is there something more to it?
I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily anything more to it in terms. Well, I mean, when you ask that, you mean in terms of them working together beyond tonight's show?
Yeah. I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised when you have these guys. Think about this. Some of these guys may have already gotten into town a couple days ago, had opportunity to talk. I mean, the idea that a handful of the people that are going to be there tonight could go and stay beyond tonight, maybe not even a handful, 1, 2, 3, would not surprise me, because at the end of the day, they're here for a job to do tonight, but they're also, Nick, talking with the people that make the decisions. Sure. You get to talk and hey, by the way, what would you think about this? When you're face to face with somebody, it's a lot easier. Out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. They're not out of sight in the last day or so, and obviously tonight. So Eric Bischoff, there, you never know what could happen. He's an interesting name to me. I don't see that happening with a lot of guys that are on the card for tonight, but he's a guy that you just never know. I mean, no clue.
It's true. I would, if I had to guess, I would say a lot of these guys. I think even Bruce Pritchard maybe said on a podcast that he ordered a new Brother Love suit. So you could see. There actually were rumors earlier today on Twitter that a potential Legends Battle Royal could take place tonight. That, of course, would fit the bill for the Royal Rumble coming up. All of the legend names that can still
and it allows
wrestle.
you to get a lot of those guys that you've got out there without hurting anybody else. Their own little segment. Yeah. That's good.
And it gives them, and it kind of gets them all out there at once, so you don't have to. I mean, there are so many names appearing.
Sure.
What do you do with all of them?
Right.
Right. So I would think, maybe something like that. You could definitely have some old. Matt Hardy said he was looking forward. MVP, very surprising.
Yeah, he's another name.
MVP for a return. You could see something with Matt Hardy and MVP because that was an old rivalry, famous rivalry in WWE. But I don't really see a lot of these relationships remaining beyond this show. I think a lot of them who have been talking, prior to the show, Bully Ray, I was listening to him this morning on Busted Open Radio. A lot of them are just talking about how they can't wait to see each other. And so I think it's really more about that and celebrating the 25 years of Raw more so than kind of, potentially starting new storylines with any of these guys that are coming back. So I'm expecting just a sort of a lot of nostalgia and celebration of Raw 25 coming from these guys, with the exception of potentially John Cena and The Undertaker, which I believe will be the kickoff to that match, which is being heavily rumored for WrestleMania 34 this year.
Y2 Jazz in the chat room, voiceofwrestling.net/live, talking about a too sweet moment between Balor Club and the Click would be interesting. I'm very interested to see what they do with some. And speaking of Nick, obviously, just a quick aside. I mean, we've talked about Finn Balor and their use of him for a while now. It seems as if maybe they're giving him that push in a different way than what you planned. And look, most people are not going to know about the Balor Club. I mean, compared to the smart fans that are online all the time that know what they've done overseas. But I like where they're going with it. These guys have good chemistry. It makes a lot of sense to throw them in there. They got their time kind of in separation for a while. Now bring them together, showcase some of their history, obviously, and put them over as kind of a new faction that can help each other when it's evident that at least in Finn's case, that they really just did not know where to go with them and what to do with them. This gives them some kind of rejuvenated energy, and I think it's a pretty good thing that they've already started with. And of course, throwing them in the mix with the Shield and everything is a pretty good start for them as well. But Nick, I mean, what are your thoughts? I know you seem, based on what you've said in the past, to be a pretty big fan of Finn Balor. Do you like the Balor Club and what they're trying to do with them?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's given him something to do. I mean, he had been wandering and really meandering so much in the mid-card prior to that. I mean, he was being used as fodder for Kane and Braun Strowman, which is just ridiculous. I mean, this is a guy that could be absolutely a top star in the company. He was the first ever WWE Universal Champion. He still hasn't had his rematch for that title. So, the guy was really being buried on television. And you had Gallows and Anderson who weren't doing anything either. So, you take these two guys and you pair them up with, or you sort of reteam them with Finn Balor, which we know is, and the reason why I like that is because, the Bullet Club is hot right now, and so, and it's a cool faction. It's one of the coolest edgiest factions in pro wrestling right now. And so having, even though it's Balor Club, which is not, different because they can't use Bullet Club, it's still the same thing. People know where it comes from. And so the association with Bullet Club and Balor and Gallows and Anderson's and what they had back in New Japan, it's good for them. It gives them something to do. I certainly don't want to see these guys in 6-man tag matches for the next 2 years. I really think that Finn Balor is a guy that really should be elevated to the main event scene. But if I had to give him something to do other than that, I think this is one of the best things to do. So far, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think at this point, and again, I don't know how many people are really aware of what all they accomplished as a group together, but I think it's a good fresh start for them no matter what, whether you know about them or not. They've got good chemistry. They could recreate some stuff if given the opportunity. And guys, we're going to get to our predictions tonight for the Royal Rumble in just a few, because I know a lot of people are asking about it. And S. Dollar in the YouTube chat room says, what's up, brothers? I know we also got a very special guest tuning in tonight, so I want to say hello to them as well. You know who you are. But other than that, Saki the Sock Puppet also wanted to know if we thought talking about the Women's Royal Rumble, and Asuka maybe winning the first ever. I mean, I think that's a definite possibility. I think they clearly are high on her, and we're going to talk a little bit about our predictions. By the way, Voice of Wrestling on Facebook, go send a message and start talking to the chat bot and give us your predictions. Anybody that actually gets every prediction right, we're going to be shouting out on next week's episode of the Voice of Wrestling as well. So go get those predictions in. And, of course, Nick and I will give ours here in a little bit. Talking about some of the things now going into a big show tonight. Huge audience, we know that much. A lot of opportunity for some of these guys that are in major stories. Speaking of, and also we know that the SmackDown guys are going to be there tonight too, Nick. So we know we're going to be getting a lot of cross promotion on the stories and going on. And I know injuries are kind of plaguing the WWE just a little bit right now. What do we know about some of the injury updates as we head into tonight's show and, of course, the Royal Rumble? When you think about a guy like Kevin Owens, I know there was a couple others that I read about. Give us a quick injury update of what we know, who's going to be affected, whether it's tonight or, obviously, most importantly, their involvement in next Sunday's Royal Rumble matches.
Well, one major name is in, one major name is out. We can rule out Samoa Joe from the WWE Royal Rumble match on Sunday.
Okay.
His injury is not believed to be very severe. He is day-to-day. He said in an interview over the weekend that it will not require surgery. So it's being treated through other means, but he will not be cleared in time for the Royal Rumble. So, he had been teasing some kind of a storyline with John Cena in the Rumble match. He had come out on Raw right before he suffered the injury, said that his goal was going to be to take out John Cena in the Royal Rumble match and eliminate him. So they'll be going in a different direction there. Samoa Joe is out, but there is no timetable for his return. WWE does have him scheduled off of live events until the middle of March. That could just be a precaution. They might just be advertising. The Miz is right now scheduled to take his place. So they could just be putting the Miz's name in there to make sure that ticket sales aren't hurt, make sure they do have an announcement prepared, an announced superstar there and advertised, prepared just in case Samoa Joe can't make it back. But he is unadvertised for the Madison Square Garden show on March 16th. So it could be an indication that he will be out that long, but there is no timetable for his return right now. Kevin Owens, on the other hand, is someone that we can confirm will be competing at the Royal Rumble on Sunday. He, of course, is scheduled to team up with Sami Zayn, and the two of them will be challenging AJ Styles for the WWE title match. Owens was kept off of live events for the past 2 weekends. He's apparently dealing with some kind of a nagging and lingering back injury. And that's what's keeping him out of action. My guess is he will be kept out of the ring until the Royal Rumble. But as of now, his match is on as scheduled for the Royal Rumble. The third name in question is Jason Jordan, one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions. Jordan at this point is dealing with an undisclosed injury. We don't know what it is. We don't know how severe it is. We know that he has been kept out of the ring for the past 2 weekends of live events. He did not compete on Raw last week, and he wasn't physical on the show. He is backstage for Raw 25 tonight, and he could appear on the show like he did last week in a non-physical role. But as of right now, he's not cleared to return to the ring, and there's no timetable on his return right now. So, yeah, like you said, Chris, the injury bug's just hitting everybody right now.
Let's talk a little bit about, of course, one of the main event stories going on, Braun Strowman, Kane, Brock Lesnar. Nick, last week we talked about how far they wanted to go with them bringing down the entire set backstage, landing it on them, and now this last Monday night was pretty much the Braun Strowman show. They made a lot to do out of nothing. Let's fire him and then let's rehire him an hour and a half later. But let's give him something to do that's going to capture some people's attention. You can tell that it seems as if the backstage shenanigans that he's capable of and that they just feel comfortable writing for whatever reason versus anybody else on the roster. They think, yeah, we can take him and make him unbelievably monstrous and power and superhuman and all of this. It gets borderline stupidity in a lot of ways and unicorns and gold at the end of the rainbow. If you can believe it is to be real, they are willing to test the boundaries on such things. I was telling you, Nick, that I loved it last week. I'm like, I love it. I think it's great. Everything's awesome. And then I come out the next week and they test my limits on that. I think good God, I don't even know where to start with it, but look, I understand what they're trying to do, and I think, to what degree, Nick, I liken this a little bit to Goldberg, all right? I think this is kind of their version of the streak. I mean, not so much in matches and win-loss record and everything like that, but how far can we take this guy and make him look superhuman before finally somebody deservingly that we want to put over eventually goes over? And maybe they'll do a better job of that whenever the time comes than obviously WCW did with Goldberg's streak ending to Kevin Nash. But at the same time, I feel like this is kind of I don't know that they're thinking about it, but this is the way I'm looking at it. I think they're putting so much stock into Braun Strowman. And whether you love some of the BS stuff that he does backstage and lifting up every vehicle known to man, Kurt Angle's, just unbelievable line of $12 million in one of the worst acting jobs I've ever seen about the trucks. I mean, it was awful. Like in some ways it was really, really bad. And then of course he goes in there to the production truck when everybody's talking about how much those things cost. They could have staged a production truck. They could have put some TVs in there that's not near $12 million worth. Maybe there's a $50,000, I don't know, $25,000 in damage. Yeah. But to make such a big deal about him going in there and messing up this $12 million production truck, he throws some papers around, and then he goes out, unhooks the tractor from its trailer.
Weren't the production people still in the truck?
Yeah, they never left.
So Angle was concerned about the truck.
Yeah, didn't give a shit about his employees.
A dozen people were killed.
Getting killed doesn't matter. Yeah, that wouldn't matter to him. But the production, the $12 million
was $12 million. I mean, where was the jacuzzi in this thing that I didn't see? So you buy it's a $12 million production truck. I mean, it comes with production equipment and what you get to live with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, there's live concerts every hour on the hour. Look,
this is quite the production truck.
But it's apparently quite the production truck, and I think, look, I understood what they were trying to do with it, but it was anticlimactic. He unhooks the tractor from the trailer to lift that up. Of course, it would be unbelievable. It would be unrealistic for him to do the entire thing. So let's not go that. But they could have staged the truck to make such a big. I mean, it was. most people probably aren't overanalyzing it to such a degree, but I feel like, look, it's very obvious what they're trying to build him into, and going into this match at the Rumble, I don't know how they get out of this without him winning. I mean, Brock could obviously pin Kane. I get that, but Braun Strowman needs to look strong. Obviously, he's going to look strong. But, Nick, don't you think that they have to keep, at this point now, the way it's all shaping up, they keep the title on Brock to set up Roman and Brock? I mean, it seems because Roman's easiest way to Brock for WrestleMania is through, obviously, the Rumble, potentially, which we don't think is going to happen, or Elimination Chamber, which, again, is still all about the title. Like, there's really no other way to set up Brock and Roman. I mean, there are other ways, so let me not say that, but it seems like the way they're wanting to go, the title stays on Brock after this Sunday, don't you think?
I would. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no, it's Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar for the title at WrestleMania 34. I mean, hey, could a title change take place at the Rumble, and then they bring it back to Reigns? I mean, Lesnar, I'm sure, could win it back at some point. I don't see him wrestling in a title match between the Rumble and WrestleMania, but it could always happen. But I think the whole construct of the triple threat match is to allow the chaos for Brock Lesnar to retain the title. So, it's a win-win situation for everyone. Brock Lesnar does not have to take a clean pin. Braun Strowman does not have to take a clean pin. My guess is this thing just ends in complete chaos, and there's no end to this match. That would be my guess.
Well, and I guess I understand that too, but where do you go with Braun at this point? Because he's been the focal point even more so than Brock, Nick, and I think where does he go at WrestleMania? To me, Braun is a guy that they've taken this far. They've made him superhuman. Let's take advantage of that. He's really, truly one of the guys that I feel like they've done right by. I mean, the entire time for the most part, very few mistakes with this guy. They've stuck to their guns, and they've held him up to be this one guy that gets a massive pop. I mean, no matter what he does, people are enjoying this. They're invested in him, and they want to know what's going to happen next. You can't diminish what you have in Brock Lesnar, obviously, so I expect he's going to come out of the Rumble looking strong as well. But in the end, I mean, you've got this guy in the making, and you don't know what happens to Brock after Mania, really. You don't really know how much longer you've got with him, especially full-time. So you need someone like Braun Strowman. But where does he fit, Nick, after the Rumble, and especially heading into WrestleMania? I mean, I'm just curious at this point. He's not in the Rumble, obviously. I don't suspect they're going to do anything with him in there, because it really would hurt a lot of people's chances in the Rumble for him to lose that match, come out, and then cause chaos in the Rumble, which has been done in the past. So, I mean, what do you do with Braun? He loses the match in some form or fashion. And even if he doesn't actually lose the match in as far as the Sunday, he doesn't win the title. So he heads on from there. Where do you go with Braun that's going to be as captivating as putting him up against Brock Lesnar, which, I mean, at least for the sake of it being Brock Lesnar, even with Kane in the mix, the title's on the line. I mean, people are at least semi-invested in this story. Maybe not his hunt for the title, but definitely how strong they're booking him against the likes of Kane and Brock Lesnar. So where does he fit in at WrestleMania? I mean, because I think he's one guy that stands out in my mind of, you better have a spot for him that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough. I think it's interesting that they're building him as such a monster, because the idea is, who's he going to face? And there is the question of Kane as well. After the Royal Rumble, where does Kane go?
He could go anywhere. He could go back to the boiler room and not be heard of from 4 months.
It's very true. He could disappear. It's true. Does he have a place at WrestleMania? I certainly don't see Braun Strowman versus Kane taking place at WrestleMania.
I hope not.
But, it was rumored months ago that the plan would be something along the lines of Braun Strowman versus Kurt Angle, or Braun Strowman versus Triple H. Braun Strowman versus Kurt Angle, at least from a storyline standpoint, could make sense, given the fact that Angle just fired him on Raw last week.
True.
So they could be heading in that direction. Triple H, who will be returning on Raw tonight for Raw 25, could set something up there. But, getting back to the Royal Rumble, he very well could be that Braun Strowman does enter the Royal Rumble match. If the title match goes on before the Rumble match, you could have a situation where Braun Strowman comes in, he's destroying. The crowd in Philadelphia would probably eat it up. He's throwing guys out all over the place. He's destroying the match. And then whoever he is facing at WrestleMania is the guy that comes out and eliminates him. And remember, because the rules we see this every week, because the rules of the Royal Rumble allow for anyone to eliminate anyone, even if it's somebody who's not even part of the match, Kurt Angle could conceivably come out. I could see a situation where Braun Strowman's just causing chaos.
Sure.
And the announce team's putting it over as something's got to happen here. Somebody's got to do something about this. Strowman is destroying the Royal Rumble match, and Kurt Angle comes out and maybe Kurt Angle eliminates him. It could be a from behind, he sneak attacks him and does one of those things where behind his back, he dumps him over the ropes, and he's eliminated from the match. And then that sets up his opponent for WrestleMania. They could always do that. The Rumble is always a match that is used typically to set up at least one match for WrestleMania 34. They did it with Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. So, again, I think you could have Braun Strowman in that match, and you could have him eliminated relatively quickly, and I don't think it would hurt him because it would then set up the match he has at WrestleMania 34. The question is, do we really want to see Braun Strowman versus Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 34?
Look, I don't know.
I don't know the benefit of that match.
I don't know that I understand the benefit either, and I don't know that Kurt's body could take it. I mean, he would have to put himself through so much. Look, I mean, there's always special appearances. I mean, I don't understand. Maybe there's more to last week's firing than what meets the eye at this point. Maybe there's a way to shift him to SmackDown, maybe WrestleMania with Shane McMahon and Braun, so he can do some crazy shit because he's always willing to put his life through hell or his body through hell to put on a good WrestleMania show and give it give a huge moment for WrestleMania. You never know there. I definitely think it's got to be somebody though that can live up and match the hype that they've given him. So a Triple H, maybe a Kurt Angle makes sense though. I mean, as far as story goes, but Triple H and Braun obviously have some history, and they haven't really followed up with that yet, so that could happen. Right. We'll obviously keep a close eye on that. But as we get close to stopping here, we do need to go ahead and give some predictions. Obviously, tonight is going to be such a big show. I want to get out of here early so we can all go gear up for tonight's 25th anniversary. Lots of people coming back, lots of legends, cameos, lots of fun. Shout out to our boy, friend of the show, Kip and Billy Gunn, obviously, who's going to be on the show tonight and doing his thing. It'll be fun to see a lot of these guys that we haven't seen in a long time, see what comes out of it. I mean, if any of it sticks beyond tonight, obviously, most of them won't, but maybe there are a few of those guys that could come back and do something. But we do want to talk and give our predictions for the Rumble next Sunday. And, of course, the Voice of Wrestling will be back, myself and Nick, to talk about the Rumble and everything, Raw 25, all of the stuff that has gone on between now and next week as well. So make sure you tune in. That'll be a show you don't want to miss. Nick, let's go ahead and start kind of at the top. I don't really care to start at the bottom. I know we know that the actual main event's going to be Brock. We both agree that Brock somehow retains the title. Yeah. So we know on the other side of the coin, though, AJ Styles defending in a handicap match against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This one's kind of an interesting one for me. I don't know that they want to put the title, get the title off of AJ heading into Mania. But here's the only thing, Nick. Anytime you get these opportunities, and I always go into a big show like the Rumble with so many titles on the line of, all right, which ones are they going to switch? Yeah. A title or two is switching, and you've got the tag team titles. Now the Cruiserweight title is going to be switching one way or the other. So there's room for both main event title matches to not change hands, but I still kind of think that maybe one of them does. And anytime you have a handicap and two people, like three people winning the tag team titles or a group winning the tag team titles, then like Spirit Squad and you know, the there was three what's their names? New Day, for example, you know, winning the tag team titles. I mean, anytime you get that dynamic of one title or two titles being shared by more than what's supposed to be, it seems like they want to normally go in that direction. So I won't be surprised. And if I was going to guess, Nick, no, man, I just can't say. I think AJ Styles has to retain here. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's like, you know, they could go full on with. Because remember, the stipulation here is that if Kevin Owens and or Sami Zayn wins the match, then they are co-WWE
right, yeah,
champions,
and I think that's an interesting story for both of them.
And it could be a cool role for them, you know? It could be a cool role because especially them being heels, you know, the idea is, well, you know, at some point they're going to fight over which one's the champion.
Right.
You know what
I mean? You already know it writes itself. Yeah.
You know, it's the whole Daniel Bryan Kane thing.
Right.
Well, I'm the Raw Tag Team Champion.
Right.
I'm the Raw. So, you know, they're going to fight over who it is. But and remember, there is a fatal 5-way match which is being promoted right now for Fastlane. That is the final stop. That is the March pay-per-view. That is about 1 month before WrestleMania. That match right now is being advertised as AJ Styles versus Randy Orton versus Nakamura versus Zayn versus Owens. So they could, again, you know, and remember, they've done this in the past. You know, I think a lot of people tend to think that whatever happens at the Rumble, that's then the way it's going to be at WrestleMania. And you've got 2 pay-per-views now. Elimination Chamber, Fastlane. We have seen titles change hands at those pay-per-views in the past.
That's
so
true.
It is not out of the question for, and you know, my prediction when I guess this sort of segues sort of into the Royal Rumble match prediction, but my Royal Rumble match prediction at this point, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say Shinsuke Nakamura. I think they're going to give it to him. I think the direction they want to go in is Nakamura, AJ Styles for the title at WrestleMania, and they could get there and still have Zayn and Owens win the title at Royal Rumble.
That's true.
Because they can always drop the title to AJ Styles at Fastlane, and you still have about a month then to set up Shinsuke Nakamura versus Styles at the Royal Rumble. I mean, you know, we had talked about this before when we said we kind of both tend to feel like a SmackDown star will be winning the Royal Rumble. And if that's the case, my money is on Shinsuke Nakamura. But again, that does not rule out Sami Zayn and Owens winning the title.
Are you actually picking them to win, though?
I'm not going to do
okay.
that, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna make
that was a
long-winded
long-winded way of saying no, AJ retains.
I don't think WWE's going to go there, even though they could.
Sure.
Even though I think Zayn and Owens could make that really entertaining.
They could. And they need that right now, especially Sammy, I think. I mean, he really could use this, and I don't think AJ does. I want Sami Zayn and Kevin to win just to see how they could go with that and then get back full circle, like you're saying, to AJ Styles and Nakamura if that's what they want to do.
Right.
But I don't think they're going to. I really don't. I think they're already laser focused on AJ Styles, and but I really wouldn't mind it. I think it would be a good turn of events and something really good for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, who they clearly have a lot of faith in as well and want to build up. So I think that's going to be it. But we're both going with Styles. You're going with Nakamura for the Rumble.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, it's one thing that I like about this match this year is that it's unpredictable. You know, I don't really think there's a clear favorite this year to win the match.
I'm going to go with them just because we talked about this last week, and I just think that maybe this could be where they wanted to go when he gave up and vacated the title. I want to see it so bad. I've always been a fan, and I think that he could do a lot with it if they gave him the opportunity. my dark horse, but also my pick to win the Rumble, the Men's Royal Rumble, is Dolph Ziggler. I don't know. I've got a feeling, damn it. I've got a gut feeling that is most likely the nachos that I ate earlier, but I feel like it's also a possibility that it's Dolph Ziggler winning the Rumble. So we're going to go there, and we're going to see what happens. Asuka winning the Women's Rumble, I think, is an easy pick at this point, but I think you've got obviously to see the other side of that with, I think Nia Jax is in it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's another close one there with the kind of the way they ended their match on Raw last week. I do think that because they're wanting to book her so strong, singles matches, her streak doesn't have to end, by losing at the Rumble. They can keep playing that up.
Right.
I think it's really between those two, most likely, Nick. With Paige not being involved all of a sudden, all of these things just kind of shape up. Definitely seem like it's going to be Asuka or maybe Nia Jax. I'm going to go with Asuka. I think she's just kind of clear-cut front runner. I think that they really like her. They're really high on her, and I get it. I think I understand that as well. It makes a lot of sense, especially the way they've been kind of building that up with her and Nia and damn it, what's her name? Blondie.
Alexa.
Alexa Bliss. So I think Asuka, I'm going to go ahead and just go out on a limb with that one.
Yeah.
Dark horse again. Nick, what do you think?
Oh, man. It's a tough pick. Part of me thinks potentially Ronda Rousey could be coming into WWE for a match at WrestleMania. I don't predict she will win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, right.
I don't think she'll be in the Royal Rumble. But if the idea is for Ronda Rousey,
you got to have some surprise appearances, though.
You do, but I think you're going to get that in the form of the older former stars, maybe the Tori Wilsons or the Kelly Kellys or the Michelle McCool, potentially Molly Holly. You got a ton, Trish Stratus, maybe Lita. You got a ton of women that could come in as surprise names. If the idea is Ronda Rousey versus Asuka at WrestleMania, you don't need Asuka to win the Royal Rumble match because she won't be in a title match. So again, and because it's there's not a clear cut what title will be on the line. Is it? I mean, obviously both women's titles will be on the line, but will the winner be getting the shot at the SmackDown title or the Raw title? Will it be a Raw or a SmackDown star that wins this match? And we really have no idea right now what those main events could be. So, I'm going to disagree with you because just based on the fact this is such a tough call, just based on the fact that I don't want us to both go with Asuka. I'm going to say Becky Lynch.
Okay.
I think she's someone who's come back. She needs that boost. I could see Becky Lynch versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. I'm kind of holding out on that possibility of Asuka facing Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. And in that case, she does not need to win the Royal Rumble match. In fact, she couldn't win the match. I mean, unless something happens and it becomes for the title, which I just don't see that happening. I don't think that needs to happen right now if that match takes place. So, I'm going to say I don't think someone like a Bayley is there to win it. I don't think Sasha Banks is going to win. I don't feel it right now. I think Becky Lynch is the choice for me right now.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. That's a good pick. Let's talk about the tag team titles real quick. Obviously, we won't talk about the Cruiserweight title. Really don't know what's going to happen with that. A little bit too up in the air. But talk about the tag team champion on both sides. You've got SmackDown and Raw tag team titles. Of course, The Bar and now Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan. I think Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan retain. I just think The Bar has really been made fun of a lot with the way they've lost a Titus in them. I don't really see it makes a lot of sense for them to go back and win the titles, although it could very well happen. But I just don't see that happening. I think they've kind of run their course, and maybe they don't have belief, that they did as far as the powers that be and everything right now. I mean, they're not behind them quite as much as they were in the past. I mean, obviously you still see them a lot and they're being given a lot of attention and time, but I think Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, they want to keep slow rolling this stuff that's brewing between them and Jason Jordan, making this full transition into a heel wherever they're going with that. That's my choice. Nick, who you got?
Man, this is another tough one. I like this. Don't you kind of like the fact that we really don't know what's going on? I feel like every time we go into the Royal Rumble, there's sort of, especially because WWE plans out WrestleMania so quickly ahead.
So quickly, yeah.
We know, well, this is the direction that they're going in at WrestleMania, but we really don't know some of these, because the Women's Royal Rumble match is such a new concept. We don't know what's going on with the tag titles. We really only know potentially Cena and Undertaker and the Universal title match. So beyond that, I don't really know. What do you see as the main event? What do you see as that title match at WrestleMania in the tag situation?
Hell if I know. I mean, most likely they throw a few teams.
With what you're saying with the bar.
Most teams they probably put a few out there. Maybe they go with who was it that just debuted last week? I can't think of their damn names all of a sudden, but it wouldn't surprise me if you see Seth Rollins and Jason, if they even last that long. But it wouldn't surprise me if you see a 3 or 4-way tag match of some kind at WrestleMania. You want to get everybody on the card. It wouldn't surprise me if you have.
They do that a lot.
You've got the bar. You've got Seth Rollins, Jason Jordan, most likely. You've got the new guys that they just brought in. I can't even think that it seems like they're going to try to push as kind of a traditional tag team. The Revival. There you go. The Revival.
The Revival.
Maybe they give them a pretty big push between now and WrestleMania as your traditionalist, and you throw them out there. I just, They've never put enough stock into the tag team division that I think they really consider these things that much. But they might know kind of where they're wanting to go with Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins by now, and when they want that breakup to take place and what they want to happen there. But as far as all the other pieces to the puzzle, the other teams in the division and the actual titles, I think is really a byproduct of everything else. I don't think it's kind of an afterthought. They're not really putting the emphasis on that. And there's just not enough credible tag teams, Nick, especially on the Raw side anyway, that they, besides the bar.
That's probably why they're pushing Titus Worldwide a little bit.
Maybe, yeah, and there you go. And they could be in their New Day. I mean, there's enough guys that they could throw in there. But I have no idea where they're going to be between now and WrestleMania for the tag team division. I have no clue. Honestly.
So remind me again, the match prediction was.
I'm going with Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan retaining over the bar.
Yeah. I'm going to say the same thing as well. And God, that's assuming Jason Jordan's ready to go, if he's even cleared to return with his injury.
Yeah.
But I would agree with you on that. I just don't see the bar gaining the titles back at this point.
I think the Usos retain over Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin as well. I just don't see that being, which really kind of makes me start. I mean, when you think about that, then Nick, I mean, the Cruiserweight Championship we know is going to be changing, but every other match we've pretty much said won't change hands. I mean, with this at that point. I mean, which really opens up the door. If we don't believe the tag team titles are changing hands,
I could see Gable, and actually, I'm gonna go with Gable and Benjamin on that.
So there you go. I mean, maybe they give.
I'm gonna go with
unless they want to make a big change at the top. One of the tag teams has to change. I just feel like it has to change unless you want to go. You're either of the belief that one of the main ones is going to happen, or the two main events is going to change hands. One of those, or one of the tag teams. I think it's a guarantee. I would put money on that part. I just don't necessarily see AJ Styles losing, although, again, that's possible too. So let's not rule that one out. But on a big show like Royal Rumble, you would maybe want to tend to believe that they will go with a big change. So I don't know. I mean, but also Y2 Jazz in the chat is saying Gable and Benjamin. So there you go. Let's see kind of what happened. Although she also just mentioned three things up that Oh, she also says Jordan and Seth will retain, and then, of course, Gable and Benjamin will win. So there you go. I mean, there's our predictions, and it's going to be very interesting to find out which ones were right. Had a couple of disagreements, at least, Nick, so that'll be fun to talk about next week. And obviously, guys, 20 minutes from now, Monday Night Raw, the 25th anniversary is coming on. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll see what happens with Enzo Amore. We'll have more information on that by next week, hopefully, as well. So follow ProWrestling.com and, of course, VoiceOfWrestling.net for all the updates. Want to shout out as well to Bryant Burns, he's now the managing editor of the Voice of Wrestling. We're going to be bringing on a few guys to kind of help with some of the content that we want to put out under VOW. So welcome Bryant Burns. Go check him out. He's posting some news. He'll be writing some stuff and doing some content as well under his own name, voiceofwrestling.net. Guys, please subscribe to us. We got a lot of good things coming in 2018 with the Voice of Wrestling. Shout out to Will Benson, who always does a lot of great stuff for us, from the graphics to video intros to the website work, the live chat room that you're seeing on the website. All of that is under Will's jurisdiction, and he does a great job. He's been around with the Voice of Wrestling for like 15 years. So love you, Will. Thanks for everything that you do. Nick, I'm looking forward to it, man. Let's go enjoy some Monday Night Raw. Let's see what happens. And guys, do it. Let's, enjoy it, man. Raw 25. These are the moments that we as wrestling fans really live for. These are the shows, these are the events that you're going to get out of your seat at least once or twice, or if you're lucky, a whole bunch of times. I'm so excited about tonight. Can't really stand it. So enjoy Raw tonight, guys. And until next week, 6:30 Eastern, right here at voiceofwrestling.net. That's Nick Paglino. I'm Chris Cash. We'll see you then.